That's absolutely right, Hector. And you know, a lot of people need to, I believe, you know, develop this new mindset that, you know, even though we're here on the earth and we don't see, you know, what might be harming us, because there's a lot of things out there that we cannot be seen, right? That hurts us, actually hurts us. We need to start thinking about the future, our grandkids, our children's children. We have to think on those terms, that even though we're here and we can't see it, we can't actually feel, you know, the changes that that are affecting Earth. We need to think about our children. What is this going to? How is this going to affect our children's children?
Oh,
I'd like to live in that, you know.
And that's why,
there's a lot of things bigger than Earth too.
Exactly.
I've learned from my family, and that's why I'm so proud of my family. Yes, I said they were conservationists, but I'll tell you what they did. I mean, you could not survive in South Texas. My family's from San Ignacio in Zapata County. My father's family, where they ranch. You could not survive in South Texas, in drought-stricken South Texas, unless you were a conservationist and you planned for the next generation, which is what this state has failed to do with its current Republican leadership.
Exactly.
Let me tell you how neat they were back in the 19th century, early part, middle part, late 19th century, when they ranched in San Ignacio. And some of my cousins are still ranching there. My grandfather built a house made out of sandstone. That house was built in 1899, but right next to that sandstone house, he built a cistern, and he directed every single gutter on the house into the cistern, so that every single drop of rain that fell on the roof was captured by the cistern.
Hector, now, you know, the recent oil spill that we had out in the Gulf, this was a very devastating thing for the Gulf Coast. Can you tell us what you would implement? What are you going to do to help make sure that that doesn't happen again?
Well, Rose, let me tell you what happened in our Gulf of Mexico, and it's our Gulf of Mexico. It's one that we share with several other states and the Republic of Mexico. It's the worst man-made environmental disaster experienced on this planet. There has been no other greater disaster than that. And we don't know how far-reaching the consequences are going to be. We do know that it's going to cost at least $100 billion to deal with some of the most immediate consequences of that environmental disaster. What happened in the Gulf of Mexico is something that should have been planned for. And neither the federal government nor our state government really were prepared for it, although we are very fortunate that the oil spill didn't come our way. Now, we know that if we'd had an environmental disaster like the British Petroleum Deepwater Horizon disaster, like we did back in, I believe, 1978 or 1979, when we had Ishtar blow out in the Gulf of Mexico, what happens to our tourist industry? Well, I represented South Padre Island when that happened, and our tourist industry was shut down for at least 3 years. I can't imagine the suffering that the people of Louisiana and contiguous states suffered, and as well as the loss of jobs. We're talking about $100 billion. Did the federal government have $100 billion stored up somewhere in order to deal with this issue? No, they didn't. The state of Texas, obviously it didn't. But we need to make sure, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That's right, yeah.
First of all, that anyone who expects to drill in our Gulf of Mexico has a clean record. Do you know that currently there are hundreds of thousands of untapped, unplugged wells on our surface and coastal lands in the Gulf of Mexico? Hundreds of thousands of untapped wells.
That's scary.
Each one is a ticking time bomb. Now, it's not the responsibility of the Texas Land Commissioner to ensure that those wells don't leak. It is a responsibility of the Texas Land Commissioner to do something about it once they do leak. And when
You're only responsible for 3 miles?
No. we're responsible for the cleanup, for the oil spill abatement. We're not responsible for actually regulating the oil and gas industry.
But Texas lands are 3 miles or 10 miles?
10.3 miles.
10.3 miles,
okay. What's happened is that at the current rate of dealing with the uncapped well issue, it would take 1,000 years to plug up all the wells that have been dug on our surface land and our coastal lands.
That is so scary, and it seems like the people that are profiting, you know, the big corporations that are profiting from this are not thinking future, and that's what really scares me. We need somebody that can, like yourself, who'll be there to make sure that, you know.
Well, Rose, let me interrupt and say that when we compare the cost of wind energy versus fossil fuel energy, hydrocarbon energy, we never factor into that cost the cost of cleanup. If we did, I can assure you that clean, renewable energy would be much more cost effective than fossil fuel energy.
That's absolutely right. And you know, I've got one thing to say about that. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, okay, that's wonderful, wind energy, but look what it's going to do to our birds.
Oh.
I mean, have you heard of that?
Oh, I have. And
we talked about birds.
Yeah, that's right. Pamela has certainly made me very attuned to the issue that the Audubon Society might have with respect to birds. And I do know that our Gulf Coast is in the main corridor of migratory patterns of some of our most important birds. Okay, and we certainly do not want to be involved in any kind of bird kill. But let me tell you, I have also studied the biggest bird kill with respect to wind energy. And Pamela was born in California, lived in California, so she made me very, very sensitive to this. And that's at Altamont. In Altamont, two big mistakes were made. First of all, the wind turbines were built atop the nests of the migratory birds. So instinct led them literally right into the blades of the wind turbines. And secondly, they were very, very small by comparison to the kind of wind turbines that are being proposed to be put into the Gulf of Mexico. So thirdly, I think that with our satellites, we can predict when the birds are going to be migrating from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere, so that we can anticipate that. And we should be able, with the newest technology, to just keep the blades from turning during that period of time. So what we'll have is basically a telephone pole in the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, it'll be a pretty tall one, but it won't be dangerous to the birds.
Exactly. I have been doing a study on getting out the Democratic vote, and if South Texas comes out to vote, if everybody that's registered in South Texas comes out to vote, plus 3%, just 3% more, Bill White can be our next governor of Texas.
That's right. And not only will Bill White be governor, Linda Chavez Thompson will be lieutenant governor,
right.
And Barbara Radnofsky will be our attorney general, and Hank Gilbert will be our commissioner of agriculture, and Jeff Williams will be our railroad commissioner, and I will be your Texas land commissioner. And I will serve you and the interests of the state of Texas first and foremost. I will not be representing the interests of special multinational corporations.
Okay, I want to thank you, Hector and Pamela, for having me here today for this edition of Kitchen Politics. I want to remind our audience that early voting is coming up very soon, October the 18th through the 29th. Please go out and vote. It's very important, and vote early. Vote early. I think if you vote early, you just get it off your plate. You don't have to worry about anything, and the advantage of that is you can vote anywhere in the county.
And Rose, can I add one more thing?
Yes, you may.
You're not finished just by voting. You need to call everyone in your family and all of your friends, all of your Facebook friends. You need to do more this time, because if we can increase voter turnout among the Hispanic community especially, all of us will win, especially you.
That's absolutely right. What I like to say is make a list of 10 people, family, friends, enemies, whoever, and you keep in touch with them and you make sure that they go out to vote. If each of us have that duty is just make
reminded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go out and vote early. So thank you very much, and see you again on Kitchen Politics.
Dedicado a Mongo.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, this could use a little bit of salt.
No,